Wow, 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 wow. We have more Nintendo Switch news to talk about today. Actually, quite a few interesting stories here. Well, yeah, we have a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 news to talk about today. Quite a few interesting stories. Got things about the controller, the box art, upcoming games, all that good stuff. But you already know I'm about to ask y'all. We are so close to 18,000 subscribers. We are 500 away. Can we pull that off before we head to New York City at the end of the month? If you guys are not subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it, as we're going to be going to New York City, filming the whole Switch 2 line in front of the Nintendo store. We'll be out there for a week. It's going to be a fun time. Without further ado, let's get right into the news. All right, this one actually is a rumor, and I'm putting it in here because I realized something. This is something that literally no one has been talking about, and I wish we would have thought about this sooner rather than later. Now, if you know about the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, a lot of people consider that to be one of the best gaming controllers that Nintendo has come out with a very long time. Because the history of Nintendo controllers, I mean, there's some weird ones out here. Although, I'll be honest, this is a hot take. I really like the Wii U Pro controller, but a lot of people hate that one. And one of the only issues that was with the Nintendo Switch Pro controller was its D-pad. The D-pad, honestly, probably the worst D-pad I have ever used in a gaming controller. It was the only bad thing about that controller. I remember I'll be playing Smash Bros with it, and there's a specific taunt I'm trying to do, and with how the D-pad works, it chooses the other taunt. Like, it is one of the worst D-pads ever. And over at the Amsterdam experience for Nintendo Switch 2, they are talking about how someone got to play the Pro controller and actually tested the D-pad out, which no one has been testing the D-pad out. I'm surprised no one thought of this idea and how it just completely went over our head. But they've talked about how the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller has a completely fixed D-pad and is such a way better controller to use with that D-pad. Now, this is a rumor, I guess, at this point, since this is coming from someone that's only played it over at the experience event, and it's the only person that thought to do this. However, I feel like this is a very true statement, because why would someone want to make something up like that when we'll be able to find out about how this Pro controller works in a few weeks? I am very excited to have that fixed, as honestly, I feel like that was the only issue with the Pro controller. And as we go into the Switch 2 Pro controller with all the upcoming new features to it, this will be an exciting addition to that Pro controller. Okay, I think this one's pretty exciting because this is the only Switch 2 game that has actually talked about this. I'm sure there's probably other Switch 2 games that have done this already, but this is the first official one that's talked about it. Cyberpunk 2077 has gone gold for Nintendo Switch 2. Now you might be asking yourself, what does gone gold mean? What that means is that they have finished the Nintendo Switch 2 version. It is now being produced and going to be shipped out the stores at some point in the coming weeks. That means all the updates, everything they had planned for it is completed. There's going to be no other patches. I mean, obviously, I guess there'll be some few patches as people find glitches and stuff, but they have completed the main part of the development, and they're going to start putting this game onto cartridges. I think this is really exciting because we're going to see more games gone gold for Nintendo Switch soon. I expect Mario Kart is one that will be coming pretty soon in the next week or two. So this is overall very exciting news. Speaking of Mario Kart, this one is kind of a big story for a lot of people. I personally I'm not too excited about this, and I'll go into why I don't like this, but the Nintendo Today app has actually showed us what the Mario Kart World box art is going to be from front to back to side. There's a 3D viewing of it that really shows off what this case is going to look like, and it looks like it's the same size as the Nintendo Switch 1 cases. Still kind of hard to figure that one out, because there's times to me that I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like a normal Switch case, and then there's different parts I'm like, wait, that doesn't look like a Switch case. So we'll probably find out the answer to that pretty soon. But what this box art 3D view that confirms us is the fact that the custom spines are coming back, or I don't know if coming back's the correct term here. But if you guys don't know, the Nintendo Switch 1, a lot of people made custom spines because they weren't a fan of the red spining on the sides, or the font on top of that. And with what Nintendo has showed us, we're seeing the, I guess, custom spine happen where it's all connected to the sides, and it'll have different font. And honestly, a lot of people are super pumped about this because not everyone, but there was a decent amount of people that was printing out their own covers because they just were not a fan of that spine. And I was a big fan of the side spine that Nintendo had going for the Switch 1. One of the reasons is for continuity purposes, this is a continuation of everything. Everything's the same thing here. Same colors. You don't have different fonts going on. It's all the same thing. Now with the Nintendo Switch 2 game box arts, it's not going to be continuing anything. It's going to be different every time. And I think honestly it's going to look really horrible on a shelf, but I guess people are a fan of that. However, with what the Switch 1 had going here, this was amazing. I love this. I guess the one pro to what this is going to do is I do think this will help at least me find the games a lot faster with having different font, different background or spine to the Switch 2 games. But I still prefer this, honestly. And I know that's a hot take, but I like this. This was all the same thing, essentially. It is what it is. And then another update to Mario Kart World, as there was a lot of people concerned that maybe Mario Kart World was using AI in some forms with some of the wallpapers or backgrounds that you'll see in the Mario Kart World footage. Because some of the billboards, people are like, huh, that looks very suspicious. That looks like that could be AI. And Nintendo has confirmed this morning that there is no AI into Mario Kart World. None of the billboards are used with AI. It's all original art. So I guess that's a good confirmation, as a lot of people were worried because I believe there was one certain billboard that people was like, huh, that really looks AI generated. But Nintendo has confirmed that there's none of that, and I'm pretty sure Nintendo a few days ago talked about how they do not want to implement AI into any of their games. They want it to be fully made by employees. I think this is something that they actually brought up in their investors meeting. So I don't expect to see Nintendo to do anything with AI when it comes to making these games or art, anything like that, anytime soon. Alright, so a Nintendo fan actually uploaded the cinematic intro to Meteoroid Prime 4 that we saw from the Nintendo Treehouse demo, and I think it's the same thing that people was playing from the introduction demo that was over at the Nintendo Switch 2 Experience event. And now we have it fully HD, no commentary, no background, nothing like that. It looks really nice. Honestly, this game looks like it is the perfect game for Nintendo Switch 2. I am definitely excited to see how this goes on Switch 2, as some of the features that the Switch 2 edition offers I think is super exciting, and I feel like there's going to be so much more to this game that we don't know about when it comes to the Switch 2 edition of Meteoroid Prime 4. But if you want to check out that video, it's out there in the wild now, if in case you weren't a fan of the Nintendo Treehouse commentary, especially with it being live streamed, it kind of makes the quality not as good. This is a full-on video where there's no live stream, so definitely take a look at that. I think you'll be even more impressed when it comes to Prime 4, as this game is probably going to be one of the best Switch 2 games. I'm calling it now. Alright, so Arc System Games has a game in development for the Nintendo Switch 2. They already have a project name for it, and I believe if I read the tweet correctly, we're going to show it up on here, but let me pull up my phone. I'm pretty sure they said it's slated, oh yeah, the target date is for November 25th. Unreal Engine 5.4, Switch 2. Now, a lot of people are wondering what this game could be. Is it a new IP, new game completely? If you ask me, considering that it already has a slated release date in mind, I think it's probably just Guilty Gear Survive coming to the Switch 2. It's probably a Switch 2 edition of that game, because obviously that game just came out on Switch 1, and it came out very late into the Switch 1 cycle. I think Arc Systems is really going to want to get that game on Switch 2 because they probably didn't get as many sales numbers as they would like, and having that on the Switch 2, a brand new edition with Switch 2 features, better frame rate, that type of stuff, people will buy that up. So this is probably what that game is, and they're trying to throw people off by having it like a code name and stuff like that, but I'm not expecting anything crazy from this. I really think it is just probably a Guilty Gear Survive Switch 2 edition coming around that time period. Which, considering that that's happening in November, we should know what exactly this is. Maybe in a few months, few weeks time frame, maybe even in a Nintendo Direct, because there's a lot of people thinking we're getting one in the summer. And it sounds like whatever this is something made specifically for the Switch 2, so it just really sounds like a port to me, but who knows? Maybe it's a full-on exclusive game for the Switch 2. Really don't know. Alright, so they did an interview on Kamiya where he talks about how he left Platinum Games and some of the things that he had planned for something like Bayonetta 4, for example. Now, this is a very interesting article with a lot of tidbits that you could learn about from just what's going on with Platinum Games right now. But a few things that I noticed that he had talked about in the interview is how he talked about how he wanted to actually continue Bayonetta Origins. And I could be reading this the wrong way, but since they had a different game director that I think was the lead for Origins leave, Platinum Games was not interested in continuing Origins. And from what this interview seems like, and maybe I'm misreading into it, it sounds like that whole Bayonetta Origins series is completely done. Platinum's not interested in continuing it, especially without the game director. And honestly, it looks like everyone is leaving Platinum Games right now. So there seems to be a lot of uncertainty with that company. However, he also talked about how he wanted to do a Bayonetta 4. He had the story in mind, and obviously now that he's left the company, that storyline that he has in mind is not going to happen. He talked about in the interview how a lot of people thought he hated Bayonetta and stuff like that, but he absolutely loves it. It's one of his favorite things that he's created, and really shows a lot of uncertainty with Platinum Games going on right now, and I don't know what's going on with that. A lot of people have left that studio. Kamiya has started his own company. I think a lot of people from Platinum went over there with him. Kamiya is obviously working on Okami 2 right now, and I feel like the series for Bayonetta, at least, might be on hold or just might not be happening anymore. If you're hoping for a Bayonetta 4, I don't think it's going to happen from Platinum. I think, and I hope I'm wrong because I don't want anybody to lose their job, but with all the things that are happening with Platinum Games, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that studio shuts down. Maybe they sell a few of their IPs. Maybe Nintendo buys the rights to Bayonetta because Bayonetta has kind of looked like as a Nintendo IP right now. Even though Bayonetta is not Nintendo, it's just the last two games have been exclusively for Nintendo. Nintendo's paid for the development of those games. I feel like Platinum could be selling their IPs off. It's going to be very interesting to see what goes on with this. I really don't know. I feel like what could happen, though, is Platinum shuts down, Kamiya has a major success with Okami 2. Nintendo hires Kamiya to do Bayonetta because the Nintendo will buy out the Bayonetta IP. But at the same time, I don't know if Nintendo wants to invest that much money into Bayonetta. It sold over 1 million copies, but it's like right at 1 million copies, which I don't know if Nintendo is really happy with those numbers or not. Very interesting to see. It's not out there that Nintendo would not buy something from them, which it wasn't necessarily a buyout, but Nintendo gave up the rights to Wonderful 101 to Platinum Games to do the physical release, and in return, Platinum gave Nintendo Astral Chain rights. So Nintendo owns the Astral Chain rights. I don't know. It's something that's possible, but I wouldn't expect to see any type of Bayonetta news for a while right now. Guys, that is everything I have for you. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. There was a lot of interesting stories here, from Bayonetta to the Pro Controller, and also the Mario Kart spine. I feel like a lot of you guys in the comments are going to love that. But is there anybody with me in the comments that are like, hey, I kind of prefer the red spine. It's all the same. It just continues the whole Switch cycle. I don't like this other stuff Nintendo's doing because nothing's going to be the same color. Nothing's going to be the same font. It's all going to be different. And like how my shelf is right here with all the Switch games stacked up, it looks nice. Imagine the Switch 2 games where it's just different colors on top. I don't know. I might be the only one thinking about that. But let me know if you guys have the same thoughts in the comments down below. Guys, I have been talking for way too much. Make sure to backslash that subscribe button. Please, we need to hit 18,000 subscribers before I go to New York City at the end of the month. Check out the Twitter, Discord, Instagram, all that good stuff in the description below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Oh man, I think this is about to fall again. Let me just end the video before people hear that.